Let's have a little hypothetical fun today and imagine for the rest of my life I could only live in 3 different countries, only spend time in 3 different countries. Now, in this scenario, I can fly and transit through other countries to get to my ultimate destination, but I can't leave the airport, I can't stop, I can only be on the soil of these 3 countries. And all the real-world criteria of taxes and restrictions and freedoms and everything that goes with spending time in a country would apply. I've thought about it, and I'm going to share with you the 3 countries that I would choose to spend the rest of my days in if I had to. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and here at Nomad Capitalist, we have a team of 30 people and a network all over the world that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where they're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. And today we're having a little fun discussing which 3 countries I would choose to spend, God willing, the next 50 or so years of my life in. And when I look at countries that I want to spend time in, you've heard about my Trifecta approach, where you spend 4 months a year in 3 different places where you rent or own homes, and you have 3 different bases that you can enjoy. I like the perspective of separating that largely by continents, by regions. And so I look at North America, for example. I spent the first couple decades of my life in the United States. I think I've had about enough of that part of the world. I think that as a former U.S. citizen, certainly it would be more of a challenge for a number of reasons to go back and live in, let's say, the United States. So that'll be out. Growing up in that part of the world, I've also can probably say that I wouldn't want to be in Australia or New Zealand. The South Pacific is interesting, but probably not as interesting if we're choosing only 3 countries. So sorry, guys, I would not be in that part of the world. I like Africa. Cape Town is a beautiful city. Cairo fascinates me. I think there's a lot of interesting places. But again, 3 countries, no vacations. You're on the soil of only 3 countries. I'll probably take a pass on Africa, and I'll focus my efforts on Latin America, Europe, and Asia. So let's start in Asia. I have a home in Malaysia. I've been going to Malaysia for many, many years, and I would choose Malaysia as one of the top 2 countries on my list of 3. The reason being that number 1, you've got a tax-friendly country. Number 2, you've got very nice people. Number 3, you've got the multiculturalism that I'm used to as a person that I think makes things interesting. You've got great food. You've got lots to do. You've got your consumer conveniences in Malaysia. So if you want to go to the mall, if you want to buy anything, you've got online shopping. Certainly things like that will improve over time perhaps, but you can get anything that you want. You want to go and buy a Gucci scarf? You got 2 Gucci stores a mile from your house. You want to go out and have something shipped from China? It's easy, it comes right through. And the government treats you pretty well. And so as long as you can keep your residence permit renewed, in my case every 10 years, then I think you'll be able to live in Malaysia, and you'll have a great time doing that with great weather. You have access to beaches on both sides of the coast. They're developing new beach resorts in that part of the world. And I think being in Asia, it's fun to watch what's happening in Asia. But I think you just feel good. You feel like you have plenty of room. Homes in Malaysia are a bit bigger. The people treat you well. And again, you can kind of bounce around and see different things. You've got the city. You've got Penang with its coastal city. You've got beautiful hotels with nice people working there. And you've got great coasts. So Malaysia would be one of them. Now, I don't like spending my entire year in Asia. Even if I had to pick 3 countries, I would still live part of my year there, and I would live part of my year somewhere else. And so I think the second country on my list where I would spend several months would be Mexico. I have a home in Colombia. I love Colombia, but I think if I had to choose only 3 countries, I would choose Mexico. And the reason why I do recommend Mexico to some folks as, let's say, a residence program at times is you've got one of the most diverse countries in the world in terms of different places to live, certain landscapes, foods. It's not as multicultural in that you don't have all the different types of people organically living there, at least in most cities. But you've got, every different state has something interesting to offer. I think it's one of those countries, maybe not quite at the level of an India or a China, but it's one of those countries where if you went to Mexico for a week or a month every year, you would be busy your entire life discovering something new. And so I think having access to Mexico would be, a very interesting place to be. You'd have great food. Now the challenge last year when I was in Mexico is you do gain a little bit of weight eating all those delicious street tacos, eating at the great steakhouses. But Mexico City to me is one of the great cities of the world. I will take it over New York. I love London, but I'll take Mexico City over London if you made me have a choice. And that's what I would do. Because again, you've got beaches, you've got mountains, you've got everything that you want, and you got a language that's relatively easy for anyone to learn. So I would choose that as my second country. Now the third country is where it's a bit more of a toss-up, because I do like spending time in Europe. For me, I would not choose Western Europe. I do enjoy London, but I think that the UK would not make the list. I think that for me, if I had to spend the rest of my life, I would want to be in a place that I believe will get better over time. And for me, that would be Eastern Europe. Now again, if I spend too much time in parts of Eastern Europe, I'm certainly a bit of a direct person, but some of the extreme directness eventually gets to me. But, we have the rules. I can go between these three countries as much as I want. And so it's a bit more of a toss-up. I do like Serbia. I do like Georgia. I think that given that Serbia is a bit more European feeling, I would probably choose that. I wouldn't choose Montenegro because you don't have any consumer conveniences really. It's a seaside resort, and seeing that I have two other countries with huge coastlines, I would not choose that. I would choose a place to get the European city vibes. And from a tax perspective, just from a lifestyle perspective, I would like to be in some place more up and coming. So I wouldn't want to be in Vienna, for example. And none of these places that I'm not choosing, it's because I hate them. I don't have an amazing vibe in Vienna, and I think it'd be harder to meet people. But, I've developed a network of folks and a business network in Serbia, so that would be a good place to go. And so I think that, between Serbia and Georgia, it would be an interesting toss-up between those two. But, owing to the fact that Serbia feels a bit more European, I would probably choose that. And so those would be the three countries that I would be able to spend time in for the rest of my life. Now, what are the three countries that you would choose? I'm sure everyone has different opinions. I'm sure some people think that I'm totally wrong. But I would like to hear, what do you think about these three countries? Which countries would you choose? I'm sure some people would want to have one that's very Western in the mix. They would want to have the U.S., for example, if they're from the U.S. They would want to have Canada for the beautiful landscape. So they'd want to at least have something Western. For me personally, I live perhaps a bit more extreme version of the nomad capitalist lifestyle, where if I had to get rid of that, it wouldn't really bother me. But I'd like to hear your comments in the comments section below. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.